Alrighty. I know it's hard to believe, maybe for us both, but it is week 15. Wow. Okay, we are approaching that downward slope at the end of the semester. So this week, a little different in the discussion board because this week I would like to get your course feedback. And as I've said before, when we give you points to cover in your reply, if there's anything else, you're welcome to do that as well. But, write paragraph style narrative writing. Don't just write one and then your answer, because I don't give you full points for that. And this is a kind of I almost want to call it like a softball one, meaning it's a little softer question, right? And then reply to at least one student to actually get full points here. Okay. So, but in the course content this week, we do have a topic that we still encourage you to definitely check out, which is what is the internet, right? Because this is one of those good to know and good to be able to have a conversation with. I imagine that because I've had this experience, like when you're just talking about stuff and somebody says, well, it's just the internet. And as I quiz them, I'm like, oh, actually, you're not. You're talking about a specific part of the internet, which is the web. But it means different things. So having an understanding about that and then drilling down a little more with HTTP, which is really what we use to build one of the fundamental building blocks for websites, and HTTP is a way we have the browsers converse back and forth, and IP, right? So IP is so important because it's that addressing system that is the way. If we didn't have a common addressing system, you couldn't find individuals on the web. How else? It's like, think about your home address, right? If you didn't have a unique home address, how would we get anything to you? Same with your email, same with IPs. And then DNS is the idea that we have these lookup tables that, because nobody wants to type in 192.168, those are private, but when you go to, let's say, Facebook, right, you don't want to have to type in an IP address, which is a series of numbers. You want to type in the very common word called Facebook. So having an understanding of these concepts is really helpful. Okay, so and I want to touch on this, is that we're now down to our last week of my IT lab typical work, right? So our chapter quiz has always been in Canvas, and then the my IT lab, the last my IT lab item is here, which is your second PowerPoint. Okay. So here's what I want you to know, kind of rolling forward. And I don't have a video on the last 2 weeks, which is week 16 and then week 17. But I went ahead and released them. So in case you want to look ahead a little bit, I will, before we head out to Thanksgiving, I will do a video for this. But here's what I want you to know. And the reason I was bringing it up is that this chapter quiz, right, is the ebook out of the ebooks. And then the last item, which is the final exam, is still covering all those chapters. So it's like you've been doing one every week, and now you'll have one exam, which is the final, that is only covering what that content was. But the big difference, and here's why I'm kind of mentioning it this week, is that it is going to be given to you, administered out in my IT lab. Okay. So as I'm looking, and I just wanted to make sure this morning I had released it, and I had. So right now we're working here on the PowerPoint, but if you click into exams, at this point you will have finished all the hands-on that you're going to have for this class. So now here is the final. And it's 150 questions, right? Because I'm releasing it early, you can take it multiple times. Your highest score is the one you can report. So, but it's going to look different, and that's the whole point of my discussion. It's going to look different than the chapter quizzes that you've taken before. You can save it and come back to it, but there is an also absolute due date that it is due. Okay, so first, before I move off, it is available. 150 questions, covers all the chapter that we have covered in this class, 13. So it was 1 through 13. You can save it. It is a random selection of 150 questions. Okay. And it is absolutely due, right? December 9th at midnight. Okay. So, and again, these are available to you. And I talked about last week that this is also the final date that you can submit late work late to me, will also be on this date as well. So, December 9th. So, make sure you have a good understanding of the way the due dates flow. Okay. So, really, at this point, I only have one more video to do for you, and it's going to be this one. But honestly, I don't think you're going to need it because I already have, and I've done this assignment for all the CIT classes, which is a JavaScript assignment, but I still may anyway, just as my last video for the start here for week 16. But if you get there before I've done it, which would be right before we head out for Thanksgiving, let me know and I'll make sure I giddy up and get that done. But here's what I want you to know. You've been doing these lab tests, right? So the lab tests have been like, here's the last one we did. And I've told you that they weigh more heavily in your overall grade, right? I just want to confirm this now that I've said it, because actually it might not be true. I'm looking at the category we have it. So it could be good. You get to see a little behind the scenes here, right? There are 3 videos here. Oh, so they're for the labs. Okay. So labs and lab tests are different. So you've been doing labs this when you do the simulations, and those have been counting for a little less points, like it could be 8 points or 10 points, depending on the number of items. So this is the last one as far as that category in your grade. And you can't, so just to know that. So it has more weight because it's more points in your overall score because it's 40 points. Okay. So it's not part of the lab test, it's part of the labs. Now, here's the thing I want you to know. Yes, I'm going to do a video for that, but this is where you're actually going to get a little bit of experience with some hands-on coding. And I hope you enjoy that. It's something that if it piques your interest, I've already talked about, please, consider taking some more of our advanced classes around that. So, and I do want to remind you as we kind of wind down here, that when you're looking, and this is just a student view, this is not anybody's grade, but I want you to know really that you can go through and ask the what if question, right? So if you were, and of course this is not a score you would want, but at this point, if you wanted to say, what if I did some late work, right? So I've said since the beginning, you can submit late work. It's discounted 25%. So what you would want to ask is, what will happen to my grade? Because often students will say, I want to get this grade in your class. What do I need to do to achieve that? And the truth is, you can answer this for yourself, because what you can do is come in here and put, let's say I get, now chapter quizzes, again, consider that they're late, but the start here's don't affect your grade, but I think they're good to watch because I produce them. The discussions absolutely can be done late. They are discounted 25%. So you could go through and figure out what that percentage would be, and therefore you could answer the what if question. What will that do to my grade? Does that allow me to pass or get whatever letter grade I'm hoping to get? So remember that is a part of Canvas, and it's a part that I really appreciate, and you as a student, I hope you do, because, and I suspect some of you have already used this feature, and I hope you have. If not, if I've shown it to you, cool, because it's really good to have. Okay. All right, so again, we're in the downward, we're starting the descent into the end. We're also seeing a decrease in the number of items. You have one, after this week, you only have 2 items to complete in this class. I'm not going to say that they're necessarily easy. They're good because they test how well you got all this chapter quiz information and give you a little coding experience. Okay? So my last thing will be that week 16 start here, which I will do soon. Peace out. Have a great one. Bye.